Hello and welcome to another Draw Along with Dan. I'm cartoonist Dan Lietha, and this is Ape Week. So we're drawing apes all week. And yesterday I drew a gorilla, and I had said, "Hey, the gorilla skull is pretty neat. You should look at it." Well, we're gonna draw one today. So a little different from the usual animal faces and such, but I think it will be a good exercise. So let's get drawing. Now, I can't show you the reference that I'm using because it's copyrighted. So I've got that off screen, and I can't trace it because it's off screen. But I'll try to do my best here and break it down as far as the shapes go. And gorilla skulls look as cool as gorillas do. They're pretty wild, and they, of course, hold true to the shape of the face that you see from the gorillas. Um, Lots of great shapes and features here, and for me, this is a pre-recorded um, draw along with Dan, so I haven't drawn any. Like I said yesterday, I didn't draw any yesterday either, as far as a warm-up goes. So this is my warm-up for the day. So I hope this turns out well. And just trying to work things out here. The skulls have a great flat area right there where the eyes are, and then you've got that big forehead thing going on. So um, just so much fun stuff to work with. And yesterday I had mentioned too about loving gorillas, growing up with them. I mean, pictures of them and images, and then I remember going to see the movie King Kong when I was I don't know, middle school, early high school maybe. No, I think it was younger than that. So I'd have to check the date, but it was the one with Jeff Bridges, and I can't remember the lady's name, but it w- it's pretty much unwatchable now. Um, the special effects were just horrible, and I guess cool for the day. I didn't mind seeing the gorilla, but like I said, it's pretty much unwatchable now. It didn't stand the test of time, let's put it that way. So the gorilla head, it's very flat right here, and then it goes back. The brain case is right there, and then up on the top, and you see that reflected in the shape of the gorillas. They have this crest, and it kind of looks like the skull has a bit of a mohawk or something, but and so that's the basic shape of the back of the skull there. Skulls are fascinating structures too. And a fantastic exercise for drawing. So the basic part of the skull has been kind of laid out. I'm going to move this up a little bit. There we go. And the difficult part, and again another cool part, is the teeth. They've got some big chompers. And I guess the gorilla could actually be another example of an animal that is primarily a vegetarian. And look at the teeth on that thing. In Genesis chapter 1, it tells us that in the beginning God made the world very good. There was no death and no suffering in the world at all. And because of that, all the animals and people ate plants in the beginning. So people these days are like, hey, that can't be true. Look, we've got all these animals designed to, they got big teeth and claws and stuff, and so they rip each other to shreds, and they're designed to kill. And that's true for today. But back in the beginning, the Bible says that everything was very good. So they point to, creatures today with big teeth and such. But there are animals out there that have huge teeth that you could look at them and go, wow, that's got to be a meat eater, and they don't eat meat at all. Or they're omnivores, I guess. So I would say the gorilla probably eats some, I have to look it up, but some things that would not be considered a vegetarian diet. But anyway, there are animals with huge teeth that are not meat eaters. Now, my problem is the skull reference. The teeth part looks really cool. Mine falls short a bit. What am I not getting right? Let's take this and knock it back and then draw over the top of it. Maybe do a refinement sketch before I ink it. Sometimes that's needed, and that's a very common thing for artists to do. I do it a lot. Some drawings, they're drawn multiple times before you see the final. And I think that's part of the illusion of the artist to a lot of people. People think that the final version is the part that pops right out of your hand, and there is work, versions of layouts and sketches and plans, and it doesn't all happen as the final that you see. One phrase that people use often in regard to doing artwork is, hey, just I want you to do this drawing, just whip that out. And like there's no effort, and the funny thing is most those comments come from people that tend to be the ones that would say, I can't draw a stick figure. And so then they just assume that it's super easy for the artist. And, granted, the artist has the skills, but it's still an effort. It's still artwork. All right. I think part of the problem of my original sketch was that I had drawn that upper lip, if you want to put that part of the skull that way, the upper jaw. I'd made that distance too long, between the this part of the skull and the nose. So the reference looks very dramatic, and mine just kind of fell short. And the teeth do look really cool, and mine didn't. So, and you see that, yeah, the lower fang, canine tooth. That's interesting. That the teeth are called canine teeth, and it's on a different animal altogether. I guess we have canine teeth too, as far as humans go, but we're not dogs. All right, I think that's better. I should thicken that up. The jaw of the gorillas, can't talk this morning. Gorilla jaws are very powerful, so I don't want to make that bottom jaw too thin. If anything, I should exaggerate its thickness a bit. So I'm not trying to draw a portrait or a realistic representation of the gorilla skull completely. Sort of a quasi-caricature, I guess. And the teeth have this detail on them. I kind of blocked them out at first, but that's better. Then having these little cubes in there. Yeah, I've been fascinated with skulls for a long time. I remember when I was a kid, we were on a family trip with our boats, and there was another family with us. And we took a rest stop. This was in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And I went walking around in the woods a little bit, exploring, and I happened upon a raccoon carcass that the raccoon had died probably quite a while before I found it. And I took the skull, which didn't have a lot of flesh. There was some fur and stuff on it, but it was relatively clean as far as that goes. So I remember I took it home, and I still have it. And I had it on display in my bedroom when I was a kid. All right, we're getting there. So this secondary sketch is pretty tight. Getting in some of the other information. The reference that I'm using is from a company called Bone Clones, and they make bone replicas that are very, very good. Some of my friends at the Creation Museum use them in their displays in the museum. And then I know Dr. David Menton, my friend and former co-worker, had some bone clones in his office, and he did lots of talks on the anatomy and structure and all that sort of stuff. So you can find videos of his online. Look up Dr. David Menton. Sadly, he has passed away, so he's with the Lord. But he leaves behind quite a legacy. So I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna knock back. Well, yeah, let's put that one away, and then we'll knock this back, and then, I mean, that's pretty tight. I could say, well, there it is, almost, but we're gonna ink this and have some fun doing that too. So there's our ink layer. Let's label that. This is a sketch layer. It's funny how I label my my layers. Let's see. Okay, and we'll go with black. Again, when I pre-record these, you guys can see the palettes that I use, which you can't see when I do these live. All right, got to get the structure here. All right, I'm making a few corrections here as I go, but hopefully it'll hold up. One thing I could have done, and I'm not going to do it just for time's sake, is when you have something that is very structured, like this shape is very geometrically solid, if you want to put it that way. When you look at the skull reference, it's just a beautiful piece of structure. And when you're drawing things like that have there's perspective and all kinds of stuff involved, it's easy to not draw it right. And so one trick that you can do, especially on something digital, is to flip it when you're drawing it and check the flipped version, because sometimes when you're drawing, the version that you're doing first can look sort of right. You know, you're like, okay, that looks pretty good to me. And then you flip it and you go, oh, it exposes the errors and the things that are off. So so there it is. And you can do that with drawings too. You can put them up on a light box or a window or something, and then trace over it and find the errors with portions that are kind of wonky that you didn't realize were off. So I probably should have done that with this, but we'll just go with it. And after the recording, I'll probably flip it and go, ugh. But again, you notice the lack of a nose bone. We get the hole here, but there's no bone protruding out like humans have. And that is a major clue as to, is the skull ape or is it human? And Dr. David Menton again, that's the person that I remember talking about that. This isn't coming out so much of a cartoon, but if you looked at the reference and then compared this, you'd go, okay, I see you distorted some things. And the teeth. I suppose I could have really went for some exaggeration too, but I guess I wasn't too much in the mood this morning to go too far with that. Again, I'm trying to put the line weight heavier on areas that would be more dark in shadow. And then say the light's coming from this direction, so the lines are thinner on that side of the objects versus the shadow other places. So I try to kind of consciously do that. I think it gives a real life to the objects that you do that too. All right. And then objects that have that, geometric solidness that I'm talking about can be a little harder to draw and then slower to ink. But patience is an important thing. The end result will be worth it. Now, as I look at this, I drew more of a chin on this, and my friend Dr. Jason Lyle was telling me that animals don't have chins. And I had never heard that before, so that's cool. I'm going to have to look into that some more. It's just a fascinating fact. Another feature that makes humans unique. I did a talk yesterday talking about humans are not animals. And you'll hear a lot of people say that we are. And, we're classified as mammals and such, but God made humans distinctly different from the animal kingdom. And again, you have to go to scripture to look up the details on that. But one big, huge difference, and the main difference, is that humans were created in the image of God. And the amazing fact about that is that we're the only ones in all of creation that have that distinction, that designation. And that gets it gets misused a lot by certain preachers, saying that we're like little gods and we can speak things into existence. And no, God is the one that speaks things into existence. We're not like that. And so there's lots of false theology going on around there too, but you have to be careful. But that is something very special about humans. Meanwhile, the apes are not created in God's image, but they still have cool skulls. There, those teeth look better. I still think if you saw the reference, you'd go, oh yeah, that reference looks so cool. I'd kind of picked a skull this morning because I thought, well, let's just do a quick drawing. Yeah, this is those structural things are kind of time consuming, but still fun. Try to render out the parts that have some shadow on them. helps communicate form. And there's not a lot of hard shadows on this reference, but there are sections here that can use some. And I'm going to throw in some other, like there's not a hard shadow there, but those are two pieces that I want to show as separate. So I'll throw an imaginary cast shadow where in the reference there really is not one. In fact, there's more of a shadow on this section of it. Something like that. And then the eyes, the eye sockets, really come to life when you come to life. This thing's a skull. But it helps, again, communicate the shape, and the eye sockets are cool. And I love the shadow here with the eyebrow ridge thing. Alright, and there's more over here. It's a real shelf over the eyes. And then there's more shadow right at the top where it's darkest. And then the shadow actually continues more there. And then there's shadow right here. Alright. It's funny, the shadows are so different on each of the eyes here. I love cross-hatching, by the way. It's very relaxing. I'll beef up some of the lines here to... There we go. This is the area of interest, and then, of course, the teeth are too. And then the rest of the skull is kind of a secondary of interest, but it is important because, again, the structural integrity of the drawing. Now this crest on the back of the head has a thickness to it, so that's the front edge, and then it kind of goes back like that, and then indicate that it goes straight up and down, and then it hits the curved part of the skull there. So we'll draw some lines to show that there's a change in direction of the surface of the skull. And then there's some indication right here of some shadowing that helps communicate the roundness of the back of the skull. So then it kind of comes up and change your shape right there. So some of this is, I don't know if you want to call it a cheat line, but the photo doesn't communicate the same way as the shadows that I'm doing. I'm kind of helping it a little bit. But photos can get away with things sometimes and then when you try to draw it, it doesn't look quite right. You gotta add more because people go, hey, that doesn't look right. Well, not that you want to be chained to your photo necessarily, but it's just interesting how photos, everyone just kind of accepts that's what they are, but when you draw it, they go, hey, that's not right. You gotta finish that detail, you gotta add that part in. But that wasn't in the photo. Alright, I think we're pretty close to done. I'm gonna take a look and see if there's some more parts that need a little extra beefing up. Now this is something I could probably pick at for the rest of the day. And then after a while I would over render it. Another thing that's helpful when you're trying to pick out shadows, especially on something like this, is to squint at the reference. And it helps you see the stronger shadows versus the smaller ones. You'll get the more general shape clearer in your mind if you squint. So there it is. And let's see, let me try to throw a little shadow on the surface here that it's sitting on the table or whatever. And boy, if I had the space and the money, one of these bone clone skulls would be cool to have in my office. But I need a bigger house, and my office is pretty small. So there it is, the skull of a gorilla. And we'll make the sketch go away. And sign my name to finish this out. Be sure to check out my website, danlietha.com, and subscribe and like, and please tell all your friends. And thank you for joining me on another Draw Along with Dan. Have a great day.